Hi, 11th of December 2022. I'm not sure this new format of Facebook Live whether you can hear me or not, or whether anyone can see me. Unfortunately, I can't see any of you or any comments. So, I have had so many beautiful messages and gifts and um, well wishing and emails from people and calls. I haven't responded to many of them. I'm really sorry, but it's been quite difficult and exhausting to try and stay centered with everything that's going on. So I was arrested on the 30th of March, um, and our house was stolen, our dwelling at the time. And I think most people know about that. I can put up the interviews on all of that I did with Sarah Westall in America, the wonderful Sarah Westall, who did 4 interviews with me, going through the whole history of why I ended up in the situation I have. And that's a question that can be answered on many different levels. Personally, I would say it's because the agents of the state, the people who are paid significant sums of money to act and do their jobs with integrity and to protect people, women, children, men, everybody, they have failed. And it's not just us. I know that there's a lot of people that I meet on a daily basis, and they have been treated very badly and failed very, very badly by the systems that do great PR in their claims of what they're supposed to represent. And a system isn't a person, so they're full of people who get up and put their trousers on and go into work and are paid, and some of them under oath, be them judges or even doctors and Gardaí, to protect and uphold the Constitution of Ireland. So if anyone hasn't worked it out yet, we have no government, we have no legal system, we have no Gardaí. We probably don't even have a medical profession anymore. We have a fronting, which is almost like a stage set on an old cowboy movie. Sorry, people are saying that my audio isn't working, so let's try. Can you hear me now? If you just let me know if you can hear me now. Hi. Oh, I can see your comments now. Can you let me know if you can hear me? Because I think the sound isn't right. Yes, okay. So what we're living in like Plato's cave, and we have a semblance of government. We have a semblance. It's like a stage set on a cowboy movie, and behind it is nothing. It's propped up by literally nothing. However, all the actors around it, agents of the state, they're highly paid to keep up the illusion that you have something there that is looking after your interests. But I can guarantee you it absolutely isn't. Come closer to the computer. Okay, sorry, I don't know why it's so low. Let me just check the settings here and volume. I'm not very good at this. It appears to be working okay. Is it very low, Jer? Come closer. I think I'm close close enough now. You can see all my bags. Okay, so hopefully you can hear me. I'll try turning up the volume again. That seems to be as far as it will go. Okay, I'll try and speak a little bit louder. So I am in court on the 20th of December. I'm charged with Section 11, production of an item which may appear to cause harm. That could be any item, and also 2 Section 12s for defending myself against, as I've said, 19 men, 16 of them approximately in balaclavas and 4 of them not. As you also know, my mother died on the 29th of May, I found out, and only after enormous amount of questions I found out yesterday or the day before the cause of her death, and I'm still trying to process that, and the horrible fact that one of the guards that arrested me was the guard that was supposed to be investigating my mother's death. So you can appreciate when I heard that and his refusal to tell me, Paddy Beer is his name, what happened to my mother for months and months and months. That was pretty nauseating, really. So I will be in court 20 on in the CCJ. Sorry, on the 20th of December in the CCJ, and I'm supposed to be up for what's called arraignment, where I either plead guilty or not guilty to defending my daughter and myself in our dwelling when the guards refused to. So there are supposedly going to be 19 witnesses, which I really look forward to seeing them without their masks if they have the courage to come in to court at some point. But on the 20th, really what I have to do is supposedly say I'm guilty or I'm not guilty. But the fact is I don't understand the charges, and I mean that absolutely sincerely. I do not understand why, after everything that we've gone through and all the crimes that have been committed against us, why I am so many resources, so many people in government, in the state, in the Gardaí, the banks, the courts have all been recruited. Oh, and Blackwater, mercenaries, and the Irish Times even. So many people have been recruited against me. I don't know what it is I've done wrong, and I've really thought about it. What is it that has triggered so much reaction against myself and subsequently the girls, because I'm their mum. And I think what it is, if I was to explain it, is every single time I look into the eyes of a person who's doing a job, whether they're a guard or whether they're a judge or a commissioner or a TD or whatever little hat or title they wish to wear, I don't see them as that title. I see them as a man or a woman that's earning a salary, acting as that title. They are no better, no worse than any of us. They have no higher status, but they do have a big responsibility. However, the way the systems are set up, and anyone who's come in contact with it will realise that the system is set up for them to believe that many people carry the burden, so it doesn't really matter if they don't carry their weight. But none of them carry their weight, and the burden drops onto the victims, and they then blame the system, but they are the system. So if there's something that I believe I've done wrong, I have looked into the eyes of these men and women, and I've said, you are personally, morally, legally, financially and spiritually responsible for your participation in your free will actions while you are acting in your position. And if there's one thing that will get you targeted, personally targeted by the system or by those in the system, is when you tell them sincerely that you know that they are responsible for their actions. They hate that. It's been said to me a couple of times over the last while that I should have put my wrath or anger onto my exes, 2 of them. And the reason I'm in this situation is because I left 2 abusers. The first one I'd been married to most of my life and grown up with him. Well, one of us did. And I had to leave for my safety and for my daughter's safety. And then I ran into a Garda station looking for protection and ran straight into the arms of another opportunist and abuser. Both of them have recruited their contacts, their system against me, and that's because they've built their entire life up on a lie now, and they really need to try to present you as being the problem. But you only have to look at the fact that one of them has been promoted onto some special unit in the Gardaí, and the other one is flying a jumbo jet, earning 30,000 a month. So they are doing very well. And the reason is that also I'm an arbitrator, so I work a lot with couples going through separation. But if you leave a man as a woman and you have fully supported their dreams and everything and propped them up, but you're not being treated with the same respect and dignity that you deserve, or certainly your children as well. When you walk away, they rage. They rage and they run and they grab whatever person they can find and they recruit them against you. And it was very difficult because if I was dealing face to face with either of my exes, it wouldn't be a problem because they can't look me in the eye. They can't look the children in the eye because we all know the truth. So what they do is they hide behind layers of um, lodges and clubs and units and lawyers and barristers, and they just layer themselves between them, and then those people are then recruited to attack you. And as you deal with each one of those attacks and you look at each one of those individuals that are not doing their job, and you basically hand them the responsibility, then you end up with an awful lot of people working against you. And that's why I'm in the situation I am. So it's coming up to Christmas, and we're here in Ireland, or 2022, and we're in the middle of Third World War. It's a silent war. It's a war of the minds and a war of the spirits. It's been in plan for a long, long, long time because human spirit is very difficult to crush. So they have to lure people away from human spirit, and that's what they've done in Ireland. I mean, we were famous for tourism, culture, music, education, arts, and they have slowly destroyed all of that. And they've recruited the majority of Irish people into working for one of their systems. So you think about how many people are involved in the medical system, the pharmaceutical system, science system, educational system, the army, the Gardaí, policing system, the legal system, the IT systems and the state systems. And you have possibly got the majority of the Irish population are contracted to the very systems that openly now are telling us that they will destroy our freedoms in order to keep us safe. And people have fallen for that. It's a very strange time to be coming up to Christmas. I feel like I'm observing everything that's happening, and I'm very lucky that even though, I arrived back to Ireland with assets of 3 million and enough for both of us to have lived. I built up a business from scratch, from nothing. I learned extra skills and arbitration as well as my yoga. I was teaching and I built up, and they have managed to steal absolutely everything from me. Everything. I have been supported beautifully, and I'm so grateful by amazing people I've known a long, 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 long time, and people I've only met in the last number of years. And I literally would be sleeping on the streets tonight without them, and so would my daughters. And we've had to watch the tsunami of non-nationals pour into this country. We've had to watch the Late Late Show audience, because I don't watch the Late Late Show, but I watch the audience because we see them on social media clapping in every single agenda that they've been told, that have been weaponized. So everything has been weaponized. Our health has been weaponized. Our freedoms have been weaponized. Our love of our country has been weaponized. Children's education has been weaponized. What else? War has been weaponized, which I suppose it is a weapon, but refugees has been weaponized. Sexuality has been weaponized. And I've watched people clapping these things in with absolute shock. I can't believe it. And yes, I do understand that people are very much influenced by their concern what everybody else thinks. And we saw that during the COVID, what would I call it, the COVID what, testing of the ground for the ultimate uh, tiptoe to tyrannical takeover that we're seeing at the moment. And we've been all called names by people we knew a long, long time. People have trusted the likes of Leo Varadkar and Tony Holohan over their family and friends. And I remember when COVID started, I had a memory of being in Hong Kong during SARS, and I realised watching the newspapers, and I even wrote an article for The Independent. I'll put it down below at the time. But I remember realising then, watching what was going on in Hong Kong and reading what was going on in the newspapers, that those two things didn't match. So when COVID started, obviously everyone wondered what it was, and I immediately, because I had two daughters, I began to research. I also contacted a number of friends that have expertise that I don't in medicine and science around the world. I'm lucky to know people with PhDs, people with expertise. And I would bring this information, both what we were being told by the media and then what I was researching and what I was hearing, to these various different experts that I knew who weren't profiting from whatever orders that were being given. But I can tell you, if my research had have led to me believing that this pandemic was what we were being told it was, the type of mother I am, I wouldn't have sat around waiting for a vaccine if I'd believed that's what would help. I would have went and tore the doors down of Pfizer to get it for my children. We'd have been in full PPE gear and everything, but it wasn't, and we've been proven correct now. Haven't been called a lot of names, from granny killers to tinfoil hats, everything, by people we knew, by people who got all of their information from the television, from people who were making a fortune to lie. It was a horrific time, and I think that everybody is in trauma. So the situation that I'm going through at the moment is traumatic, and I don't think if I had been told 15 years ago what was ahead of me when I ran home to Ireland with a jaw and strangulation and rib broke. My ribs have been broke 6 times now. I don't think I would have ever believed that I could have survived what I've survived. And in a way, I think I'm kind of at the front of the train that the rest of you are all on. We're being flooded by information from lies and truth and left and right and centre and everything and up and down. And a lot of the people that I know are, desperately trying to work out. But we do know that things are being purposely brought into chaos by people who believe in a premise of order from chaos. So they want to create the chaos with consent of the people and participation. And then they want to bring in the order. And that order will be a life of you will own nothing and you will be happy, by people who own everything and are utterly miserable. And, as I'm facing 14 years in prison, potentially, and although we have no legal system, that means that, any legal points that I put it there may or may not be listened to. I just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. So if I am put in prison by these cowards, I will look back on a life and I'll think, I'm lucky that I lived the life I had, because as we all look around at the moment at the Leo Varadkars and and all of these rich people, and they're in important positions. I used to work with government. I used to work with Microsoft. So, that was like, at the time it was, we were so well paid. We could pick up the phone and get government to do whatever we wanted, or the media or whatever. So that was back in 95, 96. We had that power. I didn't meet any happy people there. They had their shares, they had their money, they had their cars. They weren't happy. So even though they've taken everything from me, I don't look at them, I don't have envy. I really don't, because there is a cost to cowardice, and it does pay very well, you know. And I think you can probably look around at everybody that's in the system at the moment that's paid a high salary, and you can 100% know that it has cost them probably something that they don't even have the capacity to measure. But it has certainly cost them their dignity, their creativity, their integrity, their curiosity, their compassion. They have had to um, they've had to sell all of that stuff in order to become what they think they are, which is up a ladder which goes nowhere, by the way, except a big fall. But there's always another step to want to crawl up. So I've written to Eddie Mullins, who is the governor of the prisons in the Docus prison, and I told him that I've been targeted, I've been set up, and that they want to put me in prison. And I have read a lot about the overcrowding in prisons, etc., and the problems that they have. And I had previously written a course which the Gardaí stole from me, called Programme 108, and they delivered it in there. So I asked also Drew Harris, would he mind if I rewrote that for the prisoners in Mountjoy, and also for the prison staff, you know, that at least if I'm in there, I can do something so the taxpayer doesn't have to pay unnecessary money, and I could actually assist the prisoners in there. And he's opened it a number of times, hundreds of times, but I've had no response. So there is a thing called the long arm of the law, and just, you know, I've learned a lot about family law, constitutional law, commercial law, but I didn't know about criminal law. And what I've discovered about criminal law, so in my circumstances, I would say that not only am I innocent, but that I was obligated, in the circumstances that I was facing and with the background that we had, to do what I could to protect my daughter, myself, and our property and our dwelling. Now, doing what I did, standing up to them the way I did, I could have died, and I was willing to do that, because people live for a lot less than I was willing to die for. So everything after that is a bonus, really, isn't it? So I was then arrested by Garda Owen Finnegan, who claimed he didn't arrest me, written, sworn statement. And then Garda Niamh Kennedy claimed she did, but she didn't. And I was brought down to the station, and last week I got to watch the 4 or 5 hour interview that they did with me in the station. So I'd been locked up from the morning, told horrendous things, didn't know where my daughters were. The last I saw was Anu was left on the ground with my car engine running for an hour and a half, with these 19 men around her, while I was dragged off by Owen Finnegan into the car, squad car. And ironically, when Anu and I had asked them to help us before anything, when we reported our assaults and the break-in, they wouldn't open the windows because of COVID, but that didn't seem to matter to them when they got the call to arrest me. So in the Garda station, it was a blur all day. I think I was in complete trauma. And then I was told that Anu had gone off with somebody, and they weren't nice. But they were nice, you know, they were wearing a mask, but they weren't. But then I went into an interview room, and I don't remember anything that happened. So I saw the video last week, and I was given the copy. It was very hard to watch. I was watching myself for many, many hours, asking to go to the toilet, and they wouldn't let me. Having literally been dragged from my bed that morning. it was a horrific thing to watch. And I only got to watch that last week. So after that, I was locked in the cell all night with a massive blue light in my face, which I now know why they do that. It's a torture technique, actually. And the air conditioning on really, really full, so it was freezing cold. And it was a long night. And then the next morning, I was dressed in the prison gear and brought down to Dún Laoghaire Court. And then since then, I was put on bail, where I had to sign on every single day, which is humiliating. I saw people who had committed like really serious offences weren't given what I was given. And I've been in court a number of times since, and I had to listen to the guard lie under oath, no problem, to my face, no problem, on paper, no problem. And then it was sent to the CCJ, because that's a higher sentence, and it's in front of a jury of my peers. Now, I don't know how a jury of my peers is going to be able to process my defence, because people will have to realise that nobody is safe. I think the overall objective in this circumstances was to break me down and drive me mad, make me act hysterically, so they can point and say, oh look, you don't know anybody's heart. Every time I speak to a guard in conjunction with this that wasn't directly involved, they go, oh, but we're not all like that. And I use the analogy my daughter used, Anu, when she said, if you have a big huge omelette and there's some rotten eggs in it, it's a rotten omelette. And I believe truly and honestly that there are bad eggs everywhere, in every organisation. Some of them are psychopathic, and they actually excel in certain professions. I certainly know in aviation, in policing, lawyers, doctors, they've got the highest amount of psychopaths apparently. But they are only permitted to do what they do because of the ones that say that they're good, but they let them away with it. And there are processes of whistleblowing and reporting, but they don't use it. They don't use it. The entire system is set up to protect abusers. There's been lots of things I thought I could do, cases I could take and things, but in a way it's like a big loosh machine. They just want you to keep engaging with them. They want the fight on their turf, and I'm not going to fight them on their turf. I don't have a legal team because the barrister that had offered to do it, and that I spoke to a few months ago, he's dead. And he himself, he used to be an ex-guard, and he had been very badly treated then by the guards, and he was very badly injured by the same guard who I was in a relationship with in 2013. And I remember him coming home boasting about that and asking me to sew his shirt. And that barrister fought fearlessly for a lot of his clients, and I know he would have absolutely annihilated them in my case. And he had a case against them too, and I would have went witness for him, but he died. So I have no legal team. So it's Anu and myself and Lily. I'm going to get Lily to do Mackenzie Friend because she's so organised. Anu will be my main witness. I'll cross-examine her. It's the three of us in the Central Criminal Court against the DPP, the Gardaí, the 19 thugs, the Bank of Ireland, the solicitors, the barristers, the courts, the government, and the hidden hand that is managing all of them and has not stopped attacking us for 13 years. So as all of you watch the movies about the cabals and listen to the truthers and all of that, I'm actually living it, right up into its jaws. But in July, Anu turned 18, and that makes her an adult, and Lily's 21. So I won. They didn't get my kids. They didn't get my children, and that's what they wanted. But what they did do on the 30th of March was they broke me and Lily and Anu's little safe home into shreds, and they took everything. And we had to move into 3 different locations, thanks to friends. And they put an axe through the one thing that they really envy, which is the relationship that the three of us had, the home, the family, the connection, stuff that none of their, whether it's their salaries, their position, their brothels, their titles, can't buy them. And if there's one thing I'll never forgive them for, is that. However, I am absolutely astounded at how brave and courageous Lily and Anu have been. We literally were dragged out of her house. Anu had to leave school. They stole her school books, all their money, their savings, their musical instruments, our books, all the things that were important to us. They destroyed Anu's education. They hurt Lily so much. They took everything. And I hope that their dad and Glenn, I hope they feel like the men now that they wanted to be, as they've participated, facilitated, and instigated all of this. And as I said, I don't envy them, because I've lived the life that appeared to be at the top of the pyramid with the big houses and where everybody would go, oh, you're so lucky. I've lived that life and I walked away from it. So I don't envy that. Our country is heading into a seriously difficult time. With a switch of a button, they can create chaos. They've flooded in people who, if they switch the button, they're going to be chaotic as well. And people have sat at home watching TV, hiding, saying, I'm glad that's not me. And they don't see that the water is rising in the Titanic. I never call the elite because they're not. They're just black holes with billions and trillions of money that are miserable, and envy all the things that they're taking away, children's innocence and love, laughter, spontaneity, all of those things they envy. And I'm going to do a video on PTSD as well, and what that really means, because, you know, I'm sitting here nice and calm because I won't cry I won't scream. I won't go batshit crazy like they want me to. And I process here at home. But I'm not the same person that I used to be. I'm not saying it's better or worse. We have to take where we are now, and people go through a lot of things. But I think the entire of humanity are suffering from trauma and PTSD at the moment, in one way or another. Anyway, wish me luck on the 20th on my plea date, whether I'm pleading guilty or not guilty. I don't even know what the charges really mean. And take care of yourselves and each other. And that's all I really have to say. Thanks for listening, and have a lovely, lovely evening.